Welcome to the Underground, the Steel City Underground, the black and gold standard for Pittsburgh Steelers coverage. Now, here's your host, Joe Kuzma and Brian E. Roach.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Steel City Underground podcast. My name is Joe Kuzma, and I am joined today on a non-victory Monday by a Mr. Brian E. Roach. Brian, I'm feeling a little gray. I'm in between, man. That's why I got all the gray swag on today. You're wearing your high school's shirt in a what kind of mascot? A bulldog?
Bulldog. Fairview Bulldogs.
Fairview,
Dayton, Ohio. Fairview representing my peeps in Fairview. That doesn't exist anymore because the high school got. I was a member of the last graduating class of Fairview High School.
Wow, what year?
Because
what year
1982.
Jeez, man, I was born in '81.
You were 1 year old. No, it doesn't. Because I'm young. I'm young.
I wasn't even one yet. My birthday is late October, so you would have graduated, and the building was probably torn down before I celebrated my first birthday. And
I can't remember whether they actually tore the building down or just reconverted it into something else.
Parking lot.
Well, no, that would require them to tear it down.
It's a good way to start things off, though. I remember there was like this huge state grant for my former high school. It still exists because the gymnasium and cafeteria were an add-on in the 80s, I guess, to the original building of which was a public works type thing. So was the stadium, which has been totally redone since. So we actually had sections of the stadium with the concrete that was crumbling that they just put like almost like the police caution tape over, and they didn't want people near it. So we used to joke the OD green was like that was not our school color, but more like an adopted color because that's what they painted everything in, was the old military green paint that was left over, the old public works WPA stuff for the history buffs. You were around for all that, I'm sure. You may have helped build the stadium. Hey, we got things to talk about. Back-to-back losses for the Steelers, and apparently all of this could be solved if they would have just traded for or signed a Le'Veon Bell or Leonard Fournette or signed Derrick Henry in free agency, even though he never hit free agency. Can we just tell everyone out there like how preposterous? I know my buddy Ed's probably listening. This isn't just geared towards you, Ed. I know you send me the messages through the website and whatnot, and on the hotline that we have, we get a few others along with him, and this is just general social media. I hate to call it stupidity now that I singled out one person, but it is a collective here of different things. Le'Veon Bell with the Kansas City Chiefs isn't necessarily lighting the world on fire, nor was he with the Jets. He had a game with 6 carries for 14 yards against the Buffalo Bills in week 1, and then 13 for 60. He's not run for 100 the whole season. I get they had Clyde Edwards-Helaire there. Leonard Fournette, on the other hand, goes to Tampa, and he doesn't even get a helmet anymore. He may as well be the equivalent of Anthony McFarland, inactive just on yesterday, on Sunday. So we're coming to you a little later than we probably would have wanted to, but I was just beat yesterday, and I wasn't going to get into this. I said I better sit on this a night and give it some thoughts, and I rewatched the condensed version of the game to refresh my memory of some things that I wanted to say. So airing of grievances, I don't know. No running back is going to fix this. No other running back that isn't currently on the Steelers roster, nor could have been in the offseason. There's just a fundamental breakdown when it comes to being you could predict what they're going to do on offense. Me and the professor broke this down, and I was shocked to see some second down run plays. But even then, there was some of the play calling that was excellent in this game. There was a breakdown basically in the second half when you get into the fourth quarter. When you have drop passes, Brian, some of this got killed for other reasons. I think the 2 drives where they scored off of, even though I know one was off of a turnover.
Yeah.
It wasn't exactly terrible. I think they moved the ball in some chunks here or there, and there's some signs there could be promise. But I also think there was some panic and still some predictability. That was the word I was trying to look for when it comes to the offense. But I don't know that it's totally 100% broken. And then you also lose Matt Filer, then you lose his backup guard, Kevin Dotson, and you have J.C. Hassenauer, who he didn't necessarily have the kindest of things to say. They're taking running backs out of the game and using them to help in pass protection as well, which gives you one less set of hands to throw to. But when those guys squeak free, like Jalen Samuels did, I saw some positive things there. But then there was also injuries with the defense. There's all kinds of things. Chuks Okorafor goes out for a series or set of plays too. He ends up coming back. The team's banged up. They're fatigued physically, mentally, and I think that's a lot of. And when you're playing teams where I feel Washington was a bad matchup for them, I feel the Bills are a team definitely on the comeuppance. These are the type of things that are going to happen. Now, if you see this type of breakdown in another week against Cincinnati, with maybe not even with Brad Allen or whoever their other quarterback is, you get Ryan Finley, who's the third stringer who got in due to an injury against the Cowboys yesterday. If you have those sorts of problems now against the Cincinnati Bengals, okay, you can start panicking. You can start saying they're going to exit in the first round and all these other things. But until then, come on, folks. We said it before. 11-1, we wouldn't have guessed it there. 11-2, you should still be happy. It's not like they're 2-11 on the season here.
The problem is that it's 4 bad offensive performances in a row. That's the problem. That's why people are jumping off of cliffs and going nuts.
off the Strat in Vegas. I was waiting for your video.
They're gonna jump off the Strat with me, except they won't have the line attached to them. But so I get it. Look, I'm not going to make excuses for these guys right now. Yes. There is no doubt that they are in a very bad state, especially across the offensive line. It was clear, Ben hadn't been sacked in a million years, and as soon as they attempted to give him time, there was no time, and he gets sacked. I tweeted this out yesterday, and I'm starting to. The more I watch, and the more I go back and watch, the more I'm starting to believe this. The reason they are running the offense they're running is not just because they can't run the ball, because they can't very well. They may have bits and pieces where eventually they get lucky and they get a nice run, or they get a halfway decent run, but they cannot consistently run the ball well. And they're releasing the ball super quick. Why? I think all of this is covering inadequacies across the offensive line. The offensive line is playing at a very subpar level. Even guys like DeCastro. And here's the thing. DeCastro, all by himself as a all-pro level guy, can't elevate that offensive line. If the rest of the pieces are playing at a low key or a lower level, he can't. They've had injuries inconsistently throughout. I think Pouncey will be fine, but this is his first game back after being on COVID, whatever, and who knows, what his conditioning is like at that point. The offensive line, I am convinced, is the weak link right now, and it is hamstringing these guys. You want to cry about why Ben doesn't throw deep. I know our boy Eham. That's what I'm calling him now, Eham, for Mr. Herman. But I'm calling him Eham. I don't care. I was going to call him Pee Wee, but that felt too insulting to Pee Wee Herman. So anyway, I'm giving him the business. I'm giving him the business. And, I get it. He's like, Ben can't throw the ball deep anymore. And he's being echoed by all of the other armchair quarterbacks out there. Part of the reason Ben can't throw the ball deep is because there's no way he's going to have time to throw the ball deep. They just aren't going to give him enough time. And he's not as mobile as he once was. He's not going to be able to extend the play constantly the way he used to in the past. You got to accept that. He's 38 years old. There's going to be some changes. But I'm just, like I said, what's my grievance? I'm even off of I'm going to blame Randy Fichtner bandwagon, even though I think he's very vanilla still, very non-creative. But if you cannot protect and you cannot run block, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? You're going to try and figure out ways to move the ball. And their way of moving the ball is these quick, short passes. Do they work consistently? No. And if that's the only thing you can do, when any team will tell you, if you're one-dimensional and even sub-dimensional, because there's only a subset of that one dimension that they're effectively trying to run, if that's what they're doing, eventually good teams are going to figure that out and stop you because they're going to say, fine, we know you can't do anything else. That's all you can do. So we're going to take it away. And then when they do, you're screwed.
Yeah, and you know what else? Let's go to the bend deep pass thing, or accurate or bad pass. Get a couple bad passes here or there. You get some that are tipped. Maybe the one underthrown that we're going to talk about later with James Washington.
Underthrown, but yeah.
Not only that, but come on, man. The contact. On what planet do you see Joe Hayden not getting a flag for that if he's covering someone in the same fashion? The officiating, I know, you're ready to throw bricks at people probably at the end of the first quarter.
I told Christina this. I'm not going to complain about the non-PI call on James Washington. Why? Not going to complain about it. Ball's underthrown. Yes, that's how you get PI calls, but it was not blatant enough for them to call it. So I'm not going to complain about it.
I'm okay with you on that type of aspect. There was another spot in the game we'll talk about where Washington certainly was grabbed and no call, and that was the third down play that was not into a first down. That's a major issue with what's going on here and consistency of officiating. They also threw one. I want to say that was also James Washington.
You can't use those two things in the same language. You cannot use those two.
Officiating and consistency. No,
you can't use those in the same sentence. Can't do it.
No, you can't, and not even within the context of the same game because they tagged who was number 75, the right tackle for Buffalo, who was practically a false start on every single play.
Every play.
They got him once, and it didn't stop, and they didn't bother to flag him again. The whole point of throwing a penalty, okay, folks, in case you're not from the school of refereeing or officiating and understand why the officials exist, they exist so the teams play a fair game. No one gets an advantage by cheating. And when you throw a flag, it's to say, stop cheating, modifying your behavior so you no longer cheat. And then when they throw the flag and then decide not to ever again, the guy will continue to cheat until you blow the whistle and stop the game and say, stop cheating once more. And then that's the whole idea. But holding and false starts don't appear to exist anymore.
They don't exist anymore.
Not at all. Not at all. And
at least if your name is TJ Watt or Cam Hayward or Tyson Alualu. Well, I guess it exists on Tyson Alualu because they did call the one where they grabbed his jersey.
Well, they got TJ eventually. You saw him lip about time.
Because I don't even know what qualifies the difference between that holding penalty that got called and every single other play where the guy has him in a headlock and is taking him down. What's the difference? There isn't any other than I guess the ref went, okay, I think I'll call this one.
They're very fortunate that the Tyson Alualu strip sack where he batted the ball was credited as a sack, kept their streak going, and they got the into the record books. Because Tyson Alualu on that one, and I think you saw me tweet it out, and I know that I got you back on that one. I'm saying they're going to take home a souvenir Steelers jersey for how much they're grabbing at the nameplates. I thought for sure someone was going to rip one off. Cam Hayward. Chris Collins worthless. He ends up saying something like, "Hey, Cam Hayward can't be stopped. He is a force to be reckoned with." They even showed on the replay, and they got the guy by like basically what would be a horse collar if you were to reverse roles. Yeah. And that also happened on the Alualu one where he batted. It wouldn't have been a batted pass because he would have been able to get to Allen for the full sack and maybe more so from there. Now, the officiating was bad because the Steelers also caught two breaks, I feel, Brian. Fumble by James Conner and also by Ben Roethlisberger saying either forward progress or they were down by contact or whatever happened to be the case in those scenarios, and we'll go through those. But I wanted to rewind and go all the way back to some things that are going on here with the Steelers. By the way, the offensive performance I don't think was a problem against Jacksonville. You said 4 games. I'm going to go 3 since all of this crap started with the game that was supposed to be played on Thanksgiving, not having a bye, not having rest.
All right, that's fair. I can't count.
The league gives Baltimore a day for stretching so that nobody gets hurt. And then you lose somebody like Bud Dupree during all this because the Steelers don't have their routine down, and they continue to lose bodies such as Robert Spillane, such as Bud Dupree, Joe Hayden with the concussion, probably the normal course of whatever. But you have all kinds of guys. I just mentioned what was happening with the left guard yesterday, Matt Filer and all that. You got guys that are getting banged up and getting hurt and leaving the field, and it's not a good or an ideal situation. The Steelers are trying to make do with like Marcus Allen, Ulysses Gilbert, who's never played any significant snaps, plays a quarter of the game yesterday as well. Avery Williamson, who comes over from the Jets a month ago. You've got a patchwork inside linebacker crew, of which we saw what that does with the Steelers' schemes and sub packages when Ryan Shazier got hurt and trying to replace him. And they've been trying to replace Devin Bush, which they've been capable of doing since. But the defense has been getting no breaks from the offense. The defense plays how many? Let me see. Baltimore was only 54 snaps, but they played 72 plays and 75 plays against Washington Football Team and against Buffalo. Both of those are losses. Those are almost the most that they played the entire season. They had 77 against Denver. They had 82 against Baltimore in the first game that was in Baltimore that they won. That's the reason they were gassed and looked like, they didn't look so hot against the Cowboys, who also got 72 on them. And then you go 65, 56, and 54 in the subsequent 3 games against the Bengals, Jaguars, and Ravens. Then you go above 70 again in these 2 losses. When you combine that within the time frame of which they played these games, it went from a Wednesday night game to a Wednesday middle of the afternoon game. And then you have a Monday earlier game, not even quite prime time, of which for some reason when the Ravens and Steelers play each other, wouldn't it make sense to have them both play their next opponents on the same days? No, the Ravens get an extra day of rest, and then they were scheduled for the Monday night game, which is yet to kick off yet as we're recording this. So the Steelers didn't get the same type of breaks here. They went from the Monday afternoon to a Sunday night. Luckily, it wasn't a Sunday 1 o'clock, or they probably would have looked even worse. But the defense, I thought the defense played exceptionally well up until you got to the point where the Steelers' offense just goes 3 and out, and then doesn't 3 and out, and I think 3 and out with the Ben interception that we talk about when they were within 1 score, 8 points of potentially doing something, and you start to believe, oh well, Ben. I won't say necessarily you have hope. I won't say that you believe, but we've seen Ben pull this out before. We've seen Ben in no huddle situations where you're like, hey, throw out Randy Fichtner calling any type of plays, and they get some up tempo here, and maybe they do the job here. Maybe they get it done, and instead it served the defense up on a platter, and then still they kept them within the game here. It was Mike Hilton ends up with there was an extended play, Josh Allen, very young Ben-esque. It rolls out, gets pressure by Highsmith, and I think Stephon Tuitt. They don't quite catch him. There's a pass attempt down the field for Dawson Knox. He tackles him. It's a pass interference, and they still do the goal line stand. We got some good stuff here. So why don't we dig into some of that? I'm going to pull up some numbers. I'm sure you have something to say about everything that I just said, because I still felt – we thought it would be, well, maybe not you and I, but myself and Zach, and then when I was with the Rock Pile Report guys, who's the Buffalo Bills podcast last week around this time, and speaking with them, we thought this could be a higher scoring game just because of the way the Bills defense had been playing. Worst second half defense points per game in the NFL.
That's when I got you.
Yeah.
That's when I trolled you.
yeah, and I know, and I said that the Steelers' offense would explode in this game based on I felt that they would do that. I felt that they may have had enough rest and they would have corrected some things and maybe kept it from Ben maybe turning into noodle arm from having to throw so much, and they still only ran the ball like 16 times. I got to pull it up here. I still have the actual game film up that I was watching. Let's see here. 17 rushing attempts. Okay, that's up, like 4 from the previous week. And Ben throws the ball only 37 times because they literally didn't even get enough offensive plays.
Just so, in case we don't remember this, Matt Filer's on IR now.
Oh, okay.
So they placed him on IR, activated Cassius Marsh from the practice squad.
He's defensive end, though, right?
Yeah, I know. Just a body. So First of all, just because I thought I was being funny when you said this. Let's remember this is the worst second half defense in the league, and I said so. You're telling me that the second half will feature the worst second half defense and the current worst offense in the league, because that's where they look like they are right now. They're just terrible. And I said, oh boy, I'm so excited for the second half. And I really wasn't trying to troll you. It's just I couldn't help it because I was so frustrated with what you're saying. Well, let's start off with the interception. Yeah, I mean, even Collingsworth said that's a turning point, and it was a huge turning point. The defense played lights out that first half. I mean, Buffalo could do nothing, and the offense gave them no help in the first half. The defense sets them up for the score. The offense turns around and does bad things, and then they're up 7-3, and then Ben throws the pick six, and that's what I'm talking about when I said they're predicted. Consistency is good, except when it's consistency of predictability, and it's obvious what you're going to do all the time. They know this is, they have been exposed. If they do not change this, they will have problems with the Bengals, because if all they're going to do is say, fine, try and throw it 3 and 4 yards. Doesn't matter who you're playing. You could be playing the absolute worst team in football, which they might be next week, but
close to it.
You can't succeed if they absolutely know what you're doing, and they do. Teams just know what they're trying to do now, and it's a hard time to get them off. Even the drive they had success was a little different. The play calls were a little different. Quick slant to Deontay instead of the triple receiver load up, trying to throw these ridiculous screens that never seem to get anywhere. I just, I'm frustrated with that nonsense. Anyway, the defense, I tell everybody this, the defense always seems to have a letdown series in the second half. Why? Because the offense has not given them any rest in the first half. By the time you get to the second half, those guys are gassed, and they were gassed yesterday. Pressure was getting close, but couldn't get there. They were playing at a desperation level too. You're absolutely right when you said that. How often this season have you seen them throw the house at guys? They haven't. They have been restricting themselves to 4-man rushes, not overly blitzing. They do not throw those kind of all-out blitzes that they were throwing at Josh Allen yesterday, and they weren't getting home. They were not getting home.
No, and they did it at an inopportune time, which I think was right into that first drive that the Buffalo Bills had to open up the third quarter or the second half here. Matt Filer was a pec injury. I know that Kevin Dotson was also a pec injury. Let's dig into, and by the way, it's Brandon Allen. Brad Allen is the referee. But he's day-to-day, just looking ahead to the Cincinnati game. Anyways, Steelers get the ball to start. They lost the coin toss. The Bills elected to defer wisely. The Steelers, obviously wanting to come out with their normal first series offensive flurry, decided to pass all 3 times out of the shotgun to start this game. And you had Deontay Johnson drop it on the very first play. I do think a lot of these things start to mentally get to you. Let me also bring up something. Yeah. I have talked about this in the back rooms. I have not effectively talked about it enough on this program. Fatigue. My whole point in bringing up all those games is just not getting enough rest is not only contributed to overworking your muscles to a point of fatigue and or injury, which is now costing the Steelers dearly because of that original forced bye week that wasn't a bye week and they practiced, and then the mini bye that didn't happen. I don't care if they were off 10 days or whatever. They were still practicing or attempting some type of semblance of when does this game get played? Not Thursday, now Sunday, now Monday, now Tuesday. Oh, no, they need a stretch day. Let's do it on Wednesday afternoon. And that's caught up. Also mentally fatiguing. And they traveled on a Sunday morning, which they got special permission to do as well. So they changed up their routine a little bit there, probably to give the guys a little bit more of a break. Mike Tomlin's trying to give his team a fighting chance, and I think they had a fighting chance for most of this game. They lost this turnover battle, but they don't lose it here necessarily. What ends up happening is they go 3 and out immediately. They put the defense out there. You had the false start on Williams, number 75, the right tackle for the first time, maybe the only time in the game. I'm not sure. We'll go back through these. But set up it was a 3rd and 4 that went to a 3rd and 9. Tried to catch Stephon Diggs. You have a couple of you have some individual performances here, Brian, that stand out and worth mentioning. Cameron Sutton, I thought, played tremendous. I thought Steven Nelson played well, other than slipping and falling. That'll happen on one of these touchdown plays for the Buffalo Bills. They didn't give up a whole lot of stuff here in the first half. Cam Hayward was a grown-ass man. TJ Watt was a grown-ass man. I thought Alex Highsmith had a few plays in here, too, that were really well. Wait, who? What?
I got to back off.
Who are you backing off of?
TJ was non-existent in this game. I'm sorry.
Yes and no.
TJ, he had no impact on this game.
Oh, no. He had a batted down pass that was...
Yes, it was. Yeah. That was nice.
He got in
there. But other than that, that was his contribution to this game. I haven't looked at the tackle total, but TJ was, and I'm not going to necessarily blame TJ Watt, right? When the guard is allowed to stranglehold you on every play, it's hard to get around him. But he was handled by one guy. He only most of the game.
He had one tackle, 2 tackles, 1 solo, 1 assisted, but he did get to the quarterback twice, 2 QB hits, which is more than anybody else and almost more than the whole rest of the defense combined, because they only had 5 total. So only 3 others coming from Avery Williamson on the 1 blitz, I think, up the middle, one of those crossfire blitzes maybe. And then Alex Highsmith got there as well as Tyson Alualu.
So Mondo doesn't get credit for the incredibly stupid roughing penalty as a quarterback hit because it was a roughing penalty. That it wasn't.
We'll get there. Steelers get the ball back here, 12:43 in the first quarter. So you have practically you have what amounts to a 3 and out forced by the Steelers defense. They do their job. Then you go right back to pass short to Deontay Johnson. Okay, he picks up a first down. This was a nice little play. Get some confidence. It's that same little screen pass thing. You got too many plays that start behind the line of scrimmage here. This play calling was very reminiscent of last season with Duck Hodges playing quarterback instead of Ben Roethlisberger. You have Juju Smith-Schuster catches a nice little pass, a nice little out pass here. Then they finally run the ball for the first time, and they run it on 2nd down, which has been outnumbered, like I think we said 3-1, 4-1, something like that. And it goes nowhere. It doesn't materialize anywhere. Where does it go? Right guard, where it's been going every time. Try and get behind DeCastro, who may or may not be playing with his own ailments, and has been injured at various times this season as well.
Yep.
3rd and 7. Throw to Deontay Johnson, probably picks up the first down there. Yep, dropsy again, and he heads to the bench. Juju is even giving him kind of looking at him like he's got the slump going, shoulders down, with the long sleeves too. The stylish.
He's got the yips.
The yips. Jordan Berry punts 40 yards. Buffalo gets the ball on their own 31. Not a whole lot that was really going on here. They do get a first down with Cole Beasley. They try and get Stephon Diggs involved here. This is where TJ Watt he tips another ball at the line. So, okay, maybe not the grown-ass man up here, but he certainly wasn't below the line either, Brian. But we expect superhuman things from him.
The problem is he's set the line way up here.
Yeah.
So when he's just average, he's below the line.
That's okay. It's fair enough, but it wasn't like he was totally non-existent in this game. Josh Allen attempts a deep pass for Cole Beasley. I don't know where this pass was going. When you're talking about a deep passing game with Ben Roethlisberger versus some of the passes that Josh Allen threw out there with pressure in his face or not, I think his passes were way further off the mark than what some of Ben's were for the evening. I know Ben had a couple maybe here or there, especially later in the game, but when you're talking overall, here, let me give you this assessment. The Rock Pile guys agreed with me on this. The Chase Claypool, defensive pass interference. True or false, if you don't interfere with Chase Claypool on these, they're more than likely touchdowns. These aren't like they're uncatchable balls that Ben has been throwing to Chase Claypool.
I can't go more than likely. Potentially touchdowns.
Yeah,
I agree.
yeah.
But more than likely, I can't go there yet.
You're committing the foul so you don't get burned and give up 6 at the minimum.
They have to actually hit a number of them, not just a couple like they've done, but a number of them for me to say more than likely.
But again, the reason the DBs that are covering Claypool hold, grab, or otherwise impede is
because they're going to get beat. Yeah, doesn't mean the pass is going to get completed, but they're going to get beat.
But it's not like the pass is necessarily. It's not Joe Flacco throwing the ball up for a prayer in the same sense either. I think these are all within the realm of plausibility. Of course, there's one, and maybe it sails an extra 5 yards, but because the guy's been grabbed and he's super fast, maybe he catches up to it and gets under it.
I think there's accuracy in that statement, in that a lot of times where the ball looks like there was no chance isn't because there was no chance. It's because the receiver was held and wasn't called. Even when it was called, those are sometimes the cases.
So I don't think he's just throwing ducks out there is what I'm trying to say. For the most part, these balls are, you have a few here or there. They're not on the same page, but I'm just saying it's not like every single pass is awful.
Yeah, I don't know what the condition of Ben's knee is, right? But I know that if it's bad, that's going to monkey with his mechanics and his ability to push off and throw the ball. He has been worse than he was earlier in the season, as opposed to the same or better. He has not been as good. And part of that is he's throwing the ball behind guys. The ball to Washington was as close to a duck as Ben's going to throw. Yes. That was not even going to get close to James Washington. And you said it. He throws the ball 10 yards further out, and James Washington catches that, and it's probably a touchdown. But Washington has to stop. He burnt the guy, has to stop. Same, and it ends up being, a pick on that play. So that Ben, whether he's hurt, and that's the problem, I don't know, but Ben has not been as good. And they got to find a way to figure it out. And whether they're going to or not, I don't know. I will say this. You were talking about the Ravens getting rest. For this instance, I'm not upset with that. Why? Because I can't actually say what I want to say.
Don't say it.
But at the end of the game on Monday night, I would like the Steelers to have clinched. Well, they can't clinch because they lost. But be in a position where the worst thing they can be in is a tie at the top of the AFC North. And then if they win against the Bengals, they will clinch the AFC North. I would like them to be in that position. And if the Ravens need some extra rest to help them do that and achieve the putting the Steelers in the right position, that would be great.
The mental gymnastics is fantastic. I think you just won the gold medal in multiple events, by the way.
There you go.
We shall see, right? But I think the NFL, I was saying this with Zach, I wasn't saying it's WWE, but I think they have a vested interest in making sure Buffalo and Cleveland are relevant, and particularly Week 17's games are still interesting, and there may be an AFC North championship on the line. So
who's paying for all his damn commercials? What? Is it Geico?
No, it's Progressive. Progressive's an Ohio-based
I'm
company.
Getting ready to change my damn insurance because I have them, but I'm sick of those damn commercials, and I'm getting ready to change my insurance because of it. So, but I'm sure that they're calling up and going, "Could you make this guy have a little notoriety?" Because people are calling us, going, "Who the hell is this guy in your commercials?"
Cam Hayward ends up hitting Josh Allen's arm on this interception by Mike Hilton.
That was a fumble.
No, we didn't get to that one yet.
Oh, we didn't get to that one?
This is the actual interception
okay.
on Buffalo's second possession here. So, they only ran like 3-4 plays here. Mike Hilton gets the interception. If you remember, he almost dives, and it was going to get picked off regardless because I want to say Steven Nelson was in the vicinity as well. So then you have the Steelers take great opportunity take a great advantage of this opportunity where you have James Conner run right guard for 3 yards. And not necessarily this is all that bad. They run again on second down again, which is something that I didn't see them doing. Another 3 yards. Okay, it's 3rd and 4. This is something that's at least a little bit manageable. And for some godforsaken reason, I think this may have been this was Ben. Ben gets the ball tipped at the line. He was looking at Vance McDonald, who was in the game a little more than Eric Ebron. a lot, probably because of blocking and because of the whole statement that Mike Tomlin had made about we're going to find guys that are going to catch the ball. Remember, I expect routine plays to be made routinely, as that was brought up again during the broadcast. So the Steelers do nothing with this. Jordan Berry only punts at 35 yards here, so no steroid checks or anything like that. Buffalo gets the ball on their 32, but the defense does their job again because you have they get 8 yards with Zach Moss on 2 carries here for 8 yards, setting up a 3rd and 2. But Josh Allen, ball knocked down, intended for Gabriel Davis, who I failed to mention during the pregame, I think. Cam Sutton once again involved in that, playing like I thought he was a grown-ass man, and I thought Mike Hilton for the most part, even though he got
Mike
penalized.
Hilton for sure.
Man.
Mike Hilton's been playing lights out. He was definitely one of the teeniest grown-ass men you'll ever meet, but he was definitely there.
He's given up, I think he's 5'8" to 6'4", Dawson Knox. Or, what did I say, 7 to 8 inches he was giving up to this guy.
Dawson's Creek, whatever that guy's name is.
But Buffalo goes 3 and out here as well, and the Steelers actually, they go for a ball maybe intended for Chase Claypool. A hell of a play. This was Jordan Poyer, I believe, or no, Jordan Poyer comes in on the safety blitz. I forget who was covering. I don't know if it was Wallace or Josh Norman. Josh Norman, right? I think he's there. So I'm trying to think who the heck it was now.
Don't remember.
I think it was Norman that was there. But whatever it was. It was the play. I'm getting crisscrossed in my head with some of these things, but that was one of the deeper balls that may have gotten caught. The play was bang, bang right on time and doesn't end up cutting. He gets undercut and he's like, falls backwards. Claypool does on that particular play. Ben goes right back to him, gets 4 yards. 3rd and 6, finds Juju Smith-Schuster, who very sure-handed. I don't know why they don't go further. Or it doesn't seem like they send him down the field at all. And at all.
I don't know who they're sending down the field. I mean, it's either Claypool and they aren't throwing to him, or it's Washington and they throw to him occasionally. But I mean, they're not stretching the field with anybody really.
No. Juju again for 8 yards. Jalen Samuels gets involved, and I see them start to move him around like very Le'Veon Bell-esque. He does pick up 3 yards up the middle, right end, again, very predictable. That's why it's only 1 yard. They had only run left guard with Connor right before this. So let me see. Almost everything to the right side. This is where Ben Roethlisberger goes for a deep pass for James Washington, where we feel he may have gotten held, and Ben wanted that call, and it dies there in the 3rd and 6. Jordan Berry he punts 31 yards. That gets down to the Buffalo 14. You're pretty much down to the end of the first quarter. Then the Steelers, and this almost happened to them earlier, where Buffalo decides to run no huddle on a 3rd down. And now they caught him this time with too many men on the field, where there wasn't a personnel change the first time on 3rd and 2. So they get an automatic 1st down on this play. The quarter ends up ending. You had Mike Hilton with right at the end of this, Gabriel Davis for a 1 yard loss on a short pass. And he's just been all over the field. 1 quarter in, and you're 0-0 tied between both teams, and you're still feeling like, hey, okay, this is going to be a defensive battle. The Steelers' defense is getting this done. They end up forcing, this is the one right here. Very first play of the second quarter is where the ball's punched out. Cam Sutton ends up hitting Josh Allen's arm, and he ends up knuckleballing it. And I don't know if
it wasn't even a knuckleball. It was free of his hand, and he used his hand to push it. Yeah. I mean, it wasn't. He did not have control of that football when his arm moved forward. It was long out of his hand.
And I don't know. They just didn't get the replay up on the screen, or what the deal was to challenge this, but the challenge flag didn't come out. And that's unfortunate, because that was at the Buffalo 26. I'm not sure where the clear recovery was, but they kept. Here's another problem I had early on, Brian, with the referees. It seemed like any time Buffalo Bills had like a reception, it was their receivers particularly, their forward progress was stopped just like that, man. Just in the snap of the fingers, whistle, 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 whistle. I said, this is going to screw the Steelers eventually. But then you saw on some of these other plays where they're not blowing the whistle on the other side of the field and killing plays as quickly. And they were really quick to blow this one dead as an incomplete pass, where the Steelers are like, no, screw you, we're going to show that we did whatever here. And I'm not even sure, could there have been a challenge there that
I don't know.
The good old boys club would have said, oh, okay, you know what, we're wrong, you're right, we're going to overturn this on video replay. I'm not sure that they could have.
I don't know. I don't know what – I mean, that's the only reason I can think of that they wouldn't have challenged that play is because of the way it was ruled on the field made it a non-challengeable play. I just don't know because it was pretty clear that was a fumble.
Yeah, and I got to address something, too, when some people were talking about some of the snap counts in this game. Jalen Samuels had 27 snaps versus James Conner, so he had more by 4, so 27 to 23. Perhaps the conditioning and not being in practice or whatever COVID may have done. Maybe Vince Williams said it was like he smoked like a whole carton of Newports or something.
Yeah,
I think on Twitter. So, and we've heard that with different affects people in different ways. So we don't know. We don't necessarily know the conditioning of Connor to be in there more frequently, and they felt confident with at least Samuels. And we saw Benny Snell do a couple good things here as well. And there was also made mention of Alex Highsmith had maybe some more snaps than TJ Watt, but when TJ's getting double teamed all the time, you're going to put some gas back in the tank and refuel him and hope he can make some type of splash play. I don't have a problem with that. Juju Smith-Schuster played every single offensive snap first time this season, maybe one of the first times ever. Antonio Brown did that, but it was also rare in some situations back in the day when, he wasn't Mr. Big Checks or with his ego or whatever else. So the Steelers get the ball to start this second quarter, and they go right back to Chase Claypool again with a deep pass. I don't have a problem with this on first quarter. We saw our first down. We saw Buffalo do this too. But the thing here was at least they didn't just run the ball and throw the down away like we've seen them maybe gain nothing out of it any other time. They get a neutral zone infraction that's blown dead, both of them. By the way, blown dead immediately and does not allow Ben an opportunity to do what Ben does or do what Aaron Rodgers does, and that's get the free play and do something with it. Benny Snell comes in now. He gets a 7-yard gainer, a first down. You have Ben get maybe the longest pass in the game, other than maybe the touchdown to James Washington that occurs a little bit later. 20-yard connection with Juju Smith-Schuster. It seems like all cylinders are going. Benny Snell 2 yards, Benny Snell 5 yards. It's 3rd and 3. Ben finds Eric Ebron right in the breadbasket, right out of the breadbasket. Maybe body catch. I don't know what's going on here, but we just saw Ben do something very similar, I think, with Juju Smith-Schuster. He threads the needle a few times here or there, or James Washington. These guys are making the plays. Eric Ebron does not make the play there, and they're forced to punt. They're at the Buffalo 41, forced to punt. Not going to kick just out of field goal range here, so no points you could put on the board. Another very disappointing series that ends with a drop on 3rd down. Let me go back to this. Is this really play calling? This is play execution once again. I don't necessarily know that the play calling in this circumstance shot them in the foot. They had the opportunity here, and Ben goes to his tight end, who is at the marker or beyond the marker, and this would have been a first down, and the drive once again dies. No one has scored in this game yet. The Steelers' defense almost forces a 3-and-out. Josh Allen finds Gabriel Davis for 7 yards on a play, and then they tried to go downfield for Dawson Knox. Cam Sutton is the one, along with Mike Hilton on this one. They go back again, and this is the goofy, the fumble. It should have been an interception, I think. Unless they feel he made the football move. The game book has it as a fumble, but the ball never hit the ground.
Yeah, I thought it was an interception as opposed to a fumble, but I don't care. It's our ball.
It was a turnover, and it was these were grown-ass men doing grown-ass things. So you got to be back on the bandwagon here with Mike Hilton and Cam Sutton, and doing this against tight ends, which used to plague this team for years, and they're still putting the littlest big guy out there, and he's playing like he's 7 feet tall out there, like he's Shaq. Steelers score within 3 plays here. They get lucky that James Conner fumble was not ruled a fumble. There was no review there. He goes up the middle for 3 yards, just the middle. Ben Roethlisberger, deep pass, only 19 yards here, Brian, but he finds him. And here you go. They go up with the first points for the game. Chris Boswell, PAT, is good. 7-0 Steelers with 8:21 remaining in the game. I'm going to keep being long-winded here. Josh Allen, very first play is where Tyson Alualu nearly swats this ball away and nearly gives the Steelers the ball again. All momentum is in Pittsburgh's favor now because they've already picked Allen's pockets twice and nearly got him again. Now he's trying to find Gabriel Davis, doesn't do it, scrambles up the middle for 11 yards on a 3rd and 18. It was kind of like, okay, he's kind of squeaked free, but there was nowhere for him to go. 46-yard punt by this guy that never punts, apparently, was doing it a lot in this game. I cannot pronounce his name properly. I forget what they call it. Bjorquez, maybe? 46-yard booming punt. Steelers get the ball on their 27. They're going to try and run the ball now. 1 yard, no gain. Incomplete pass to James Washington on 3rd and 9 and just give it right back away. A minute and a half, maybe, on this drive. This is the same thing we used to complain about last year with the Steelers. These drives, possession, first possession of the game, 59 seconds. 2:10 with the punt, 1:38 with the punt. Okay, 4:03 with the punt, 2:57 with the punt. You gave the defense a little bit of an opportunity here. But even then, 1:15 off the fumble with the Cam Sutton-Mike Hilton play with the touchdown, a minute and 15 seconds. Then a minute and 41 seconds. 50 seconds and 52 seconds. That's what the first half ends up being here. They didn't give them, the defense, a whole lot of rest at all. No. And the time of possession was 35 minutes and 15 seconds to 24:45 for the Steelers. You had about 10 and a half minutes more where the Buffalo Bills possessed the ball. They ran 71 offensive plays. 71. There was a total of 75 snaps total because you had 4 of those negated by penalty that the Steelers defense was on the field for. Absolutely fatigue playing a factor here. So you had the 3 and out by the Steelers. Buffalo gets the ball back with just under 5 minutes left before half. They start the drive. They had the play where there was the ping-pong play where Stephon Diggs finally does some damage here because neither Minkah Fitzpatrick nor, I believe it was Steven Nelson, was on the back end. Neither of these guys made a tackle. You start to get sloppy. You start to have missed tackles. Josh Allen looks for Diggs. He gets another 18 yards further down on this play. This is the play where Buffalo had the illegal formation, but Henry Mondow, wearing the old Brett Kiesel number 99, called for what Chris Collinsworth ends up saying he thought was a safe. Where the heck can you hit these guys on their body?
There's nothing wrong with that play.
I don't think it was late either.
The refs are either they're out of position or they're just stupid. I lean towards they're just stupid. But, I guess his hand touched his thigh, therefore it's lower. No. He hit him with the shoulder in the right location. He didn't pile on. He rolled off. He did everything he could not to be roughing. He was well within the rules. The refs are just idiots. They're all idiots. You know what? I'm past the point of saying they stink. Just shoot them all. The hell with it.
and apparently the way this works is even though it's a pre-snap penalty and the play should not have counted at all, because there's a roughing the passer, the 15-yard penalty still gets enforced because it's a 15 versus a 5-yard penalty, so they don't offset, even though the penalty shouldn't have been a penalty, and you would have more than likely here, this was still a 1st and 10, so maybe you replay it down, but it's on the 31, maybe you back them up. I'm not sure exactly what Mike Tomlin's decision would have been there. All I know is with the 2-minute warning, they wouldn't have been on the 16-yard line, and Josh Allen still doesn't complete the next 3 passes. You had a lot of good play by the Steelers defense. They hold strong. It's a 34-yard chip shot for Tyler Bass. It's 7-3 Steelers. They get the ball back with, I believe, all of their timeouts with 1:42 remaining here. Yeah, timeout number 1 after Jalen Samuels for 4 yards, a little outlet pass, 13 yards to Ebron. You have some good stuff here. Incomplete pass to Chase Claypool. And then a penalty. Neutral zone infraction, once again called dead, stalls the momentum, stalls this the no huddle that was originally going here. And then Ben gets picked for a pick six by Johnson. This 51 yards return. There was nobody else that was there. Stares down Juju, or just too much of the same thing. I'm not sure. But this is what swung the pendulum in the other direction. Although it was still only 9-7 because Bass misses the gimme on the extra
you had,
point
but
drive.
as soon as they scored, you knew they were going to come in and score on the first drive. You just knew it. Whether that was reasonable to expect, you knew it. You knew how deflating that had to be for a defense that had done everything possible to hold what is a high-scoring offense completely in check. And you with no help, no timeout, no time off the field, you knew they were going to come in and put another touchdown up on the scoreboard coming off at halftime. And so yes, it swung. It was crushing. That was a crushing mistake. And while do I blame Ben 100%? I blame Ben 90% for that throw. He should never have thrown that ball. He should have seen that guy sitting there. He could tell the guy's not backing off. He's right there waiting for it. Right there waiting to jump that route.
Very Landry Goat-esque. So, the very first series, Buffalo gets the ball for the third quarter, 8 plays, 68 yards, touchdown. They go up 16-7. This still isn't out of reach, but the Steelers, they go left guard this time, Brian. 1 yard. They run the ball, and you have an injury, so now you come back right off of the injury. This is Ben forcing something. This was a short little shovel pass attempt on the left side of the line to Vance McDonald. I have no idea why you would even attempt this. The ball was behind the line. Very dangerous. Could have been tipped. Could have been picked. Even if Vance gets this is one of those, if he takes a step,
never going anywhere.
Doesn't secure the ball. He's not going anywhere, but he could also fumble. It's just all sorts of ugly. And then Ben takes his first sack since the first Ravens game. Loses 10 yards. Matt Milano gets him. They sent the house on this third and 9. He doesn't really have an opportunity to get anything going here. The whole pocket collapses. Jordan Berry with a nice punt, though, 46 yards. Buffalo's backed up a little bit beyond their logo at midfield. Then they go to work. It's just... Well, how long was that series right there? Let me see. Let me pull it up. Right after the third quarter, it was 1 minute and 16 seconds since the defense was off the field after a 4-minute 37 in-game clock, not real time. Let me see. Sometimes they mark the real times on here too. Let me see. Did they have the real time for 4:37? Well, it just says 4:37 elapsed. But the actual drive here, that was 2:05 right after that, after a minute 15 seconds ticked off the clock. The Steelers go 3 and out. The 2:05 drive was 7:58 elapsed. That's how long the defense was on the field there in real time. So 22-yard pass, 19-yard pass. Zach Moss right in, 3 yards. Josh Allen finds Gabriel Davis 13 yards. One of these two, I think it was the first one to begin the second half, is where Steven Nelson fell down and left Stephon Diggs wide open, and he just strolled right on in. It's unfortunate. 23-7. Still, it's still not over. You still got 2.5 or a quarter and a half of football here. 7 minutes or so left. But the Steelers run the ball. They go right back to the same thing now. Very vanilla. Right guard. I think this is where you go. This is where we go back to something. When you're game planning for these games, you have a script, and it's usually good for about a half. And that's all the more you want it to be. You go through every play, or you have ideas of the plays you're going to do down time, situation, distance, etc. Then you're making adjustments, and you're going a little more off the fly. This went right back to the old crap. Right guard, no game. This was Ben Roethlisberger, Chase Claypool, 6 yards, short little whatever that he was able to make out of it. Goes out of bounds, I believe, right there. Clock stops. Incomplete, once again. Eric Ebron, same old story, 3 and out. They're going to punt. Gah. You think this is deflating for the defense at this point? What did they chew off the clock? 1.5 minutes again. Nothing. Absolutely nothing after Buffalo had done all of this stuff. Fortunately, what you could say is that the Steelers' defense pretty much almost, not quite a 3 and out. Buffalo does get a third down here. not a third down, I'm sorry, a first down here. But then it's after that they end up holding. Devin Singletary could only get 3 yards. They try a little end round play out of the Steelers playbook with Stephon Diggs for a yard. Josh Allen to Dawson Knox is stopped short. Terrell Edmonds in coverage there for 4 yards. They're 2 yards short of the marker. They're not going to do anything here at their own 38. They're going to try and pin the Steelers into this position. And this is where all sorts of things were ugly, because now you'd lost Matt Filer. Now you were losing Kevin Dotson already at this point. On this next drive with the Steelers, Chukwuekorfor even ends up getting hurt. But they brought Deontay Johnson back into this game. He catches the first pass. They get him integrated immediately. Jalen Samuels for 6 yards. Deontay Johnson, once again, 6 yards. They're starting to move. They're starting to hustle. Eric Ebron catches a pass here. These are almost all out of shotgun. What I wanted to say was earlier, when the Steelers get on the board, you actually had a little bit more of variety in the Steelers' play calling. We end up seeing Ben will go under center. He will have a play action pass from under center, believe it or not. And they kind of went away from all of this different stuff. It was shotgun, shotgun, shotgun. There was some no huddle, shotgun, shotgun, shotgun. But you get the Juju Smith-Schuster for 3 yards, thread the needle. You get the 2-point conversion. Eric Ebron, the guy has been labeled as, are you going to hold on to the ball? Comes down with what I thought was I thought he was going to drop it, to be completely honest. His butt comes down in the end zone. They get the 2 points. You're down only 8 at this point, and there's 12 minutes or so remaining in the game. The Steelers' defense, though, is gassed for the most part. They give up a series of first downs here. You're probably good for some of this at some point. There's 2 penalties on the Pittsburgh 5-yard line, 2 penalties against Buffalo. Illegal touch, offensive holding, both declined. 23-yard field goal secures a little bit more of a cushion for Buffalo at this point, because this was after the aforementioned Mike Hilton pass interference on 3rd and 5, where Allen went deep, and Hilton was the only guy in deep coverage there. So what are you going to do against the guy who's bigger than you? He got there a little early. Maybe that ends up being a touchdown. I'm not going to fault it too much. It's the same thing we said about what they do with Chase Claypool. So, live to fight another set of downs. They do. They only hold them to a field goal. Okay, I can live with all of that. You have 8 minutes left. You're going to give it to Ben Roethlisberger, who is a comeback artist. You have at least that much hope. You're not necessarily believing that they're moving the ball a whole lot, but they just scored on the last drive. It's possible. It was 10 plays, 81 yards. I thought they took a little bit too much time doing that, 4:38, but they got some points on the board. There is maybe some hope here, but you're going to have to score twice within these 8 minutes. They got all their timeouts. They got Ben. He's done this before. He looks for Jalen Samuels. That's the one he threw over his head. He went right back to it. Jalen Samuels gets 6 yards on it. Okay, not necessarily all too bad. 3rd and 4, goes down the field for James Washington. He was wide open. Doesn't put enough on it. Little bit of fighting for the ball. You're going to let him play? Okay, we're going to let him play. Picked off. I guess good play by, Levi Wallace? It sucks, man.
Ball, that's the one it's just badly underthrown. There was Washington again. That ball placed well. We are back to being hopeful, but that's just not the situation. And whether Ben didn't set himself right, whether that's the play. Ben looked away, came back and reacted, and this is. I felt like this was the case. For those who can remember back to the Green Bay Super Bowl when they played Green Bay and we had the ball last, and that last series in Green Bay, we looked like the Keystone Cops. We didn't know what the hell we were doing. We're running around like with our heads cut off like chickens, and we don't know what's going on, and we're in a panic mode. Well, that's kind of how that looked to me again. It was like, okay. Oh, my God. Oh, I better throw it real fast. But instead of setting, throwing the ball, placing it, the reaction is much more of a panic state of reaction, and he just missed it. He just didn't throw the ball well at all. And again, whether that's because the knee is hurt, I don't know the answers. I don't know those answers. I just know they got to figure out what they're doing, because the one thing that I will agree with Steelers Twitter and the Facebook groups and all of the fans going on, if they continue to play like this, they're not going far.
I don't believe that they're going to, and they're obviously playing against a team that had a great. Oh, the defense is going to bail them out, but they're also playing against a team that usually scores a lot more points too. So
I don't know that they're going to either. I'm just saying, if they do, sure. If they play like this, because they stunk, if they play like this, they're going to lose. There's no question about it. I don't think that they. Again, it's so hard for me to accept that they could lose next week to the Bengals.
Absolutely.
I just can't. I can't accept that. If that were to happen, look, I don't know. I'll show you my Steelers underwear. I don't know.
It'll be especially bad for me since I'm going to be there, and it's a Monday night football game. You don't have Andy Dalton to turn into a pumpkin in prime time there anymore. But
no.
It looks like
they stink. They're so bad.
Looks like I'm going to see maybe Ryan Finley again because Allen's day to day. But anyways, Brian, the bigger thing here is that this was another 3-and-out by the Steelers defense with an interception. Buffalo never gives the ball back. 7 minutes, 11 seconds, and finishes out the entire game. And this is after Buffalo's been forced into a 1st and 20 after Morse is tagged with the holding. About time.
Yeah, that's the about time.
About time. Yeah. Oh, yeah. A little too late now. This is really helping us. Thank you. And it should have, but they found Stephon Diggs for 9 yards. Buffalo, 3rd and 11. They call a timeout before this. They're going to make sure they get this play. They find Dawson Knox for 16 yards. And then it's Zach Moss for little pieces and chunks here and there. 4, 13, 6, 3. Allen scrambles on 3rd and 1 for 2 yards himself. Makes it happen. 2-minute warning. Steelers are going to start burning their timeouts. Zach Moss loses 2 yards, but then Josh Allen ends up going around. What the heck are you doing there, man? You're just working on the scrap pile or the collection. Oh, it's the bobblehead that's ticking in agreement. But anyways, what else are you going to do there? They end up securing. They got another 3rd and 1. They just plow it in there. But at this point, man, you feel defeated. You're down 2 possessions at least. I mean, 7 minutes, you got to hope that you do something, but what else are you going to do at this point? The defense has been out there for almost the entirety of the game. You literally you didn't chew anything off the clock. It was 56 seconds before that. They were out there for 4:11. 56 seconds of game time later, you bring them right back out.
I get it. And look, I'm 100% with you. There is no question that the defense's worst enemy in this game was the Steelers' offense because they put them in a bad position. But I do have to I got a question. And I don't want to say this in the way I want to say it because, we're a family show. Where the F was Stephon Tuitt?
I don't know, and that's when they made adjustments for Hayward. I thought he got pushed here or there, but it wasn't what you would want. Now, I thought Alex Highsmith made some great plays. He had that one on the goal line was great. He went after Allen's ankles on the one because he was taken to the ground.
Hopefully, his ankle is okay. Meaning Highsmith's.
Yes,
because they can't afford to lose it. I thought he played well, but man, look, Stephon Tuitt, who's been playing like a grown ass man, was the invisible man in this game. And I don't understand it. I don't know who. I'd have to go back and look at the matchup. Maybe it was just a bad matchup. Maybe he was just worn out. I don't know. But, man.
Steelers offense, 1 for 10 on 3rd down.
Terrible.
1 for 10, 10%. They ended up giving up 7 of 14 to the Bills. A lot of that in that 4th quarter. A lot of that in the 4th quarter. And I think a lot of that is just fatigue, losing bodies. Maybe you just got guys that haven't even been playing as much in the roles. I mean, Williamson obviously playing a whole lot. Marcus Allen playing a whole lot. Hold on, I got the snap counts in front of us because let me see here. Defensively, I know somebody's saying they didn't get Derek Watt in there at all. Why are you paying him? I'm not revisiting that. Let me see.
Stop that.
Minka and Edmonds the full game. Nelson almost the full game. Sutton almost the full game. Highsmith is next. The linebacker 68. of the 75 plays. Williamson, 67. That's 89%. Cam Hayward, TJ Watt, 85%. That's actually probably more than you usually are going to want for participation out of Hayward, especially they try and rotate those guys. We're unable to in this situation with this game. Mike Hilton plays a lot too, 79% with 59 snaps, 75% for Marcus Allen. Hold on, I got the counts for the season. That is by far the most that Marcus Allen has ever played in the Steelers uniform. 13, 6, 31, 10, 6, 22%. Over the games he's been playing, and he hadn't been utilized the previous 2 years, obviously, or nearly that much. And in fact, Williamson playing on the defense, for Spillane and then Vince Williams being out, he had gotten in a little bit more, 46 and 53% the previous games. This is only his 5th game in a black and gold uniform. Who else is in here? To it, 72%. So they rotated him in and out a little bit. Lou at 48. Gilbert, of course, I mentioned playing a quarter of the game earlier. Adnei, Ola, 24% is in there as well. Justin Lane came in a little bit, 11 plays where they got him in, where they usually like to kick Sutton inside and have Lane play on the outside in the sub packages with the multiple DBs. Chris Wormley, we're going to finish this out with 7 snaps. Dangerfield and Mondo with 3 apiece. And that's where you got it, man. By the way, Hassenauer ended up playing 32, or about a third of the game. When he came in for Dotson. Dotson had played half of the game, 51% after coming in for Filer, who's somewhere at the bottom here, only 10 of the Steelers' 57 offensive plays. Okorafor ended up coming out for about 5 plays during that series. So you see where things broke down there. And the different guys. In fact, Deontay Johnson came in. He still played about half the game, even while they got Washington involved 81% of the time. Juju played 100% of the time. And Claypool plays 67%. That's nuts. You almost have you've had a lot of 4 wide receiver type sets there. Ebron plays 67% of the game. So not a whole, no real 2 tight end sets. Nothing jumbo or big. Benny Snell gets 5 snaps. Ray McLeod gets 4. So that just gives you the breakdown of everything. Brian, I think we're up against it. We've been at this really long. We've been doing a lot of hour-plus shows, so I don't want to take this too far. There's a lot that we could chew off still heading into the week where we find out where injuries are and previewing the Bengals.
Yeah, I do want to say one last thing. Ray, when you're 10 yards deep in the end zone, take a damn knee.
First play of the game, right?
Yeah, take a damn knee.
Yeah, me shakes my head there on that. So, Brian,
Ray has gone cray-cray.
Brian, thanks for joining me, my friend. I know we were a little long-winded here, and we had a lot of things to say, a lot of things that'll get addressed. Not necessarily trying to make – let me be very clear this in my closing comments. I don't want to make excuses with injuries. I don't want to make excuses with the officiating. The team lost this game. The offense lost this game. The turnover battle, they lost the turnover battle. They lost the time of possession battle. You got to do things to make up for that. Throwing incomplete passes does not help that. If anything, throwing the ball more is how you get picked more. That's how you get the clock stopped. That's how you give more opportunity to the other team. We had talked about how well they had done that with the Jaguars and really controlled that as a well-rounded game. They got to get back to that. And ever since, the Ravens shenanigans and everything like that, they have not been back on track with that. I understand there's maybe concern. You go back and you look at the Cowboys, but those games in between, like the Bengals and that, and the Jaguars, I think they were doing just fine. They looked like a team that is a playoff-bound team and potential Super Bowl contender. They have not been back to that. I get it. Some people are going to say, oh, well, they've been exposed for having a bad schedule. Exhibit B. Why don't the Ravens have an undefeated record? Why don't the Cleveland Browns, if everyone was been crowning them Super Bowl preseason champions each of the last 2 seasons? So they have very similar schedules, or in the case of the Ravens, actually easier, and it's not there. And the same thing with the Kansas City Chiefs. They have a pretty cupcake schedule as well. If anything, I would say the Buffalo Bills have played a lot of playoff contenders, a very difficult schedule. They have a lot of tough teams on their schedule, and I think that's really molded them into the team that they were. Hat's almost off because I got my headphones off. To the Buffalo Bills. We thought that could have been the first loss. We thought that could have been the first loss, even thinking about the way this was on paper and the
absolutely.
way this was set up. So, again, while I'm annoyed and it's frustrating to watch, am I really that mad and upset when I lose to a good team? No. And I'm totally okay with where they are. I'm just hoping that they could heal up and they could correct some of these problems. And it comes at a good time where they play a Bengals team that isn't too good, where I think they can work on some of these things, maybe get some additional rest, not have to worry about forcing some guys into roles like they would maybe against the Colts or the Browns down the road here in a couple of weeks.
I'm going to go the opposite direction in the sense that I'm not okay with where they are. I'm okay with where the defense is. I am not okay with where this offense is.
I meant where they are on the schedule.
Oh, yes.
To correct
okay
it. No,
with,
I'm not where they are.
11-2.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm okay with them being 11-2. I'm happy they're 11-2.
11-2 and having to face the Bengals rather than having to face the Colts or the Browns.
Yes,
as their next game. That's what I mean.
That's a good thing.
Clarify.
This is a game that they should be able to get well in, and we'll talk about that when we talk about it. But I'm at the point where, like I said at the beginning of this, I'm wondering if the root of all this problem doesn't lie at a place where they are now strapped for injury and cannot fix it, and that's the offensive line. I just don't know. We'll have to see. This is going to take some effort if that's in fact the case.
I agree, my friend, and the reason we had that gut feeling is because of what happened in years past when they lose a guy, a key component like a Ryan Shazier, like a Lev Bell, and we've just seen it all kind of fall apart in different areas, unfortunately, because of the injury bug, and it's unfortunate. Yep. And people will be like, well, other teams are playing with injuries. Well, usually the ones that go the whole distance don't deal with those type of problems.
Not this kind. I mean, you can count. I mean, the number of players they've lost. It's getting much higher. Bud Dupree, Devin Bush, the tackles, the guard. I mean, you're talking. It's getting to the point where you cannot overcome those kind of issues.
Yeah, I agree. So I'm realizing the professor is going off in the back rooms. If only we could give you the platform. Well, I'll let you record a little selfie video, and I can't even. We would be here another hour if I go into all the stuff he's going into. We'll table that and come back to it later. Brian, thanks for joining me once again.
Happy to be here. Go Bulldogs.
happy as you can, and
as I can be.
Gray, blue, whatever you want to say. Maybe we'll be feeling a little better. Maybe the Bengals will cure our ailments. We'll talk about that later this week. Either yourself, myself, maybe Zach. I don't know. Somewhere along the line, we're going to have a mix and match up with our schedules as we head into the Christmas season. Right behind me here. So
wait, no, I don't do that. I'm Grinchy. It's 'tis the season of the Grinch.
Well, I'm all about Festivus because it's for the rest of us. So,
humbug.
My name's Joe. Don't say that too loud because my devices that control the lighting here, I actually have the lights turn on with Merry Christmas and the lights turn off with Bah Humbug. So if I say the magic word, I'm going to be in the dark here. So
now I want to scream it and see if I can turn your lights off.
I thought it was just very festive to do something like that. But anyways, my name's Joe. His name's Brian. Folks, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And also, take care of yourselves out there. Brian would say it's chaos out there. Myself, I'll just tell you to. Until next time, be safe, be good, and we'll catch you later.
We would like to thank you for listening and remind our listeners to follow us on social media and our website, www.steelcityunderground.com.